Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to the Adobe XD Daily Creative Challenge, day number 6. My name is Howard Pinsky, Senior XD Evangelist here at Adobe. And hello to everyone joining me live on Behance this morning, including Anna and Julia and Castle Lab and Kita, Ash, and Newer, Tim, and Jack. If you are tuning in live this morning, afternoon, or evening, let me know in the chat. Throw your name in there. Let me know where you're tuning in from. I know it's midnight in India, which is super cool. Thank you for joining me so late or early in the day. And if you are putting aside the Apple event right now, which I want to go back to and just start watching again, thank you for tuning in as well. So, day 6 of the XD Daily Creative Challenge is upon us, and let's go ahead and go through all the details. So we've got, Castle Lab is from Toronto. Awesome. And we've got Marissa. And yeah, Mario as well. Welcome, everyone. So this is the landing page for the XD Daily Creative Challenge. It is behance.net/challenge/XD. And if you haven't pressed that big blue register button at the top yet, definitely hit that big blue register button so that you're notified when we do release new challenges. Every single day, you are going to get a new challenge Monday to Friday. They're typically released around 8 o'clock in the morning Pacific time. You can also join us in our community chat, which is powered by Discord. And here it is. Here we have about 20,000 designers, which is super cool. A lot of people in there. All of you are super friendly and super helpful. We've got some great channels going on the side here, including the current challenge channel. That's a mouthful. Current challenge channel, where all of you have been posting your amazing work that you've been, submitting over the last week and a half-ish. And I just love seeing the feedback that's come in over the last few days, the last few weeks, and really the last few months since we started this Discord server. And so many of you are jumping in, giving feedback, getting feedback, and really applying a lot of that feedback to your designs and making them even better. So, all right. Did you see the new iPhone? I did see most of it. I stopped, I think, when the iPhone Pro was at the camera stage, but I'm going to go back and rewatch some of it. I'm kind of excited. I'm always excited about camera upgrades and iPhones and things like that. Photography and mobile phones has just been crazy. So anyways, here we go. So we're going to scroll down here. Here's the challenges so far. We started off with a presentation timer, leaderboard experience, road trip randomizer, luxury car rental, digital diet yesterday, and then today we're tackling food ordering. And if you've been with me for maybe since last year, possibly, you may have seen some of the stuff that I'm going to be showing, but I want to revisit it because I think it's so cool and it really shows the power of things like the drag trigger and tap triggers and auto animate and being able to import Illustrator files and all that fun stuff. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hop straight into Adobe XD. Here we go, and this is the template for today. And again, the prompt, as you can see up here, is to design and prototype a food ordering app. Use drag triggers and to add ingredients and a tap trigger to confirm the order. And if you do want to really keep track of your score, you have a little bit of an area down here. You can get creative with it. You can also use outside assets. So if you've grabbed files from Adobe Stock, or if you're an Illustrator and you design a lot of files with Photoshop or Illustrator as well, you can bring those directly in. I'm going to show you how that's done. And then down here, we've got some inspiration, including one that I did a while ago, and I'm going to kind of be showing you again the process of creating something like this with auto animate. And I really want to see how creative you all get, whether you're using burgers or tacos or pizza or salad or whatever the food might be that you want to explode or, create an experience for. Have fun with it, right? All right, so here we go. We're going to start off. I'm going to just simply grab my Artboard tool over to the left and click, and it's going to create automatically the last artboard that I did create, which is an iPhone XS. Eventually, we'll have to do an iPhone 11 Pro or whatever name convention they come up with for this next iPhone that's just being released as I talk. All right, so here's the artboard here, and let's very quickly start by just adding some elements to this. We might want some text at the top. We might want a navigation bar at the bottom. So I'm going to simply grab my rectangle tool, draw one out at the bottom right here, making sure to leave a little bit extra space because there is that home indicator right down at the bottom. Yeah, Hugo, I think they announced the iPhone 11. They also announced the iPhone 11 Pro. And all the events going on now, so more details will come. when I'm going to be reviewing Behance projects. Sometimes I review them on stream if I have time, but we'll find time. We'll definitely take a look at some of them as we go. So I've got this navigation bar at the bottom. I will want to keep it maybe white, but I want to turn the background of this artboard a little bit darker. So I can just simply double click on it, or I can select the artboard title at the top. And I'm just going to darken it just a touch, just to make it a little bit gray, just like that. Perfect. All right, so we've got our navigation bar at the bottom. We need some icons, right? So I'm going to actually open up Nucleo, which is my favorite third-party application for managing icons. There's also a few plugins within Adobe XD that you can use to grab plugins, grab icons. Some of them are free, some of them are paid. And here we go. So I'm going to hop into, let's say, symbol icons and just type out, let's say, burger. I can't spell burger. There we go. Here's a cool looking burger icon. I'm just simply going to drag that in here. You might want to place that straight in the middle of this artboard and the navigation bar at the bottom. And then maybe over to the right, I'll just have like a little bit of a shopping cart possibly. We'll go for this one. That looks pretty good. I'm going to make sure to move it outside of the burger group. And then maybe over to the left, we'll just have a menu icon. Of course, I can probably create a menu icon myself, but I'm lazy, so I'm just going to drag one here. And I can make sure to select all three of these and make sure they're all lined up by using my alignment and distribution options over here. That looks pretty good, and I can also make sure all this stuff is centered nicely. So this one is centered nicely in the center of my document. This one I'll put, let's say about, let's go for 50 pixels from the side, and we'll make sure this one lines up as well. Perfect. Anyone going to Adobe Max this year? Yes, I will definitely be there. And if anyone is joining all of us at Adobe Max this year, definitely throw that in the chat. I'm excited to see all of you there. Now, these ones here are probably the inactive icons, so I'm maybe just going to decrease the opacity a little bit. This one is active, so maybe I'll just change the color to, we'll go for like a reddish color. That looks pretty good. Red is always a nice color for food, I think. Perfect. All right, so we've got our navigation bar down at the bottom. It's not really what we want to focus on, but what we do want to focus on is the actual experience on ordering and customizing your food. So I'm going to hop over to Finder right here, and I've got this Adobe stock file that I grabbed from, well, Adobe stock, and it contains a bunch of ingredients for a burger. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to simply drag this into Adobe XD. I'm going to drag it onto the icon, and XD is going to load in all the Illustrator assets that were in that file, including all the vector paths and all that fun stuff. Is Adobe Max only in United States? So it's being held right now in Los Angeles this year, but it will be streamed. A lot of it, the keynote will be streamed. We're going to announce all of our big announcements and updates and that sort of thing. So I've got this inside of XD now, and now I can simply just start selecting many of these elements. So I've got the burger bun at the top. I got that one. I'm just holding my shift key. I'm going to select all the elements that I might want to include, including tomatoes and pickles, and let's go for some lettuce and cheese, and you've got to have some bacon and maybe some ketchup as well. Let me know in the chat what you like to include in your burgers, but I've got all these elements selected. I'm simply going to copy them, hop over to this document, and paste. And there we go. We now have our burger ingredients. I'm going to make it a little bit larger, and all of it is vector, so everything enlarges really nicely. And these are pretty large vector images, very detailed. Look at all these little seeds and stuff. So, it's quite detailed. There we go. Perfect. All right, so we've got basically all the ingredients that we want to include inside of this burger. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to start by creating the initial state. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to have, let's say, the bun up here. We might want that over there. What else do we put in a burger? Lettuce. I'm going to make sure to move it down a little bit. Right about there. We've got some cheese. Does the cheese go above or below the lettuce? Oh, mushroom. Mushrooms is a good idea. I'm not sure where the cheese goes. Probably below the lettuce, right? I would assume so. Possibly. I don't know. I don't know burgers very well. Got some bacon going on. Put that in here. Put that below the cheese as well. That looks good. Maybe the tomatoes will go above the lettuce. And all I'm doing, I'm just using these Illustrator assets just to kind of rearrange this burger to make it look pretty fancy, right? Got some pickles. I hate pickles, but I'm going to put them on there because I know some of you probably like it. Relish and bacon, yes, 10 cents extra, of course. And we've got some ketchup, right? Perfect. All right, so we've got this burger looking pretty good. It's pretty delicious. All right. Now this is going to be the initial state, right? What it's going to look like before you start customizing. So right below, we might want a button to actually start the customization. So I'm going to grab my rectangle and simply drag out a button across my artboard just like this. I might want to round out the corners. Fantastic. I'll change the color to, let's actually go for the same color as the red down here. I'm going to select this icon, and within my assets panel, which you can access right down here at the bottom, pineapple on pizza. Yes, Tim, I do love pineapple on pizza. I know Val, I don't know, she might be watching, she might not be. She hates it, but I love pineapple on pizza. So I'm gonna press the plus button beside colors. It's gonna add that color directly to my assets, and now I can very easily apply it where I want it. And maybe I'll just write customize. All right, make this a little bit larger, perfect. Make sure it's centered, and I'll make this bold, whoops, bold, and I'll change the color to white. Perfect. So now that we have this button, I'm going to make sure to group this and just name this, let's say, button, right? And I'll also select all the elements, all the ingredients of this burger and group those as well. And just call this burger just so everything's nice and organized. All right, so we've got this going on. Of course, I'd probably have some sort of a title at the top. I'd have a lot of different elements on this artboard, but for the sake of time, we'll keep it nice and simple. So now we want to start customizing what the second screen looks like. So I'm going to simply select the artboard and duplicate it. I can select it and press Command and Control D to duplicate it over to the right. And now we really want to kind of design what that second state might look like. And all I'm going to do here is select the burger, and I can enlarge it just like this. And all the ingredients are kind of exploding, right? And responsive resize is doing its thing, but now I can jump in here and just move things around so we can really start to see all of the ingredients at once. So we've got the cheese. We might want to grab this button and move this down a little bit so we have a little bit more room. Move that down, move the bun or the meat down. We've got bacon, cheese. We have a lot of ingredients in here. Oh, and Siri's talking to me for some reason. She must know that I'm not watching the Apple event right now. All right, so we've got all these ingredients going on here, and essentially what we want to be able to do, we want a user to be able to drag the ingredients away that they're not really interested in. But some people might not know exactly what some of these ingredients are, so we might want to go through and start labeling them. So I'm going to simply grab my text tool, and I'm not going to worry about labeling the buns because you're probably going to keep those there, but this will be meat, right? And I'll pop this right here, make sure it lines up with that meat. Perfect, there we go. Maybe I'll just drop it to semi-bold, like that. Perfect. And then this one will be bacon. And this will be cheese. I'm kind of running out of room, so I'll probably have to make these a little bit smaller. Are you the only one who doesn't like bacon? No, a lot of people don't like bacon. Lettuce, is that how to spell lettuce? I always get lettuce wrong, right? Tomatoes, also spelled tomatoes wrong. And this is cucumbers. I am definitely running out of room. And this will be pickles and ketchup. Perfect. All right, so we've got basically all these names going on here, but you know, they're a little bit large. So what we might want to do is grab the burger layer, just move this over a little bit, and then grab all the text layers, move those over a touch, and maybe just decrease the size of the text just a little bit. Make sure they're all vertically and horizontally distributed. There we go. All right. Perfect. So things are looking pretty good. We've got the labels, and maybe we might want to select all of these. Just drop the opacity a touch, just like that. All right. Tomatoes. Yes. Did I spell it right? Did I spell it wrong? I don't know. Spelling is hard when you're streaming live. All right, so we've got this going on. We essentially have our second state, and now we want to design our additional states of what it might look like when someone drags away one of the ingredients. Let me know in the chat, kind of do a vote. What ingredient do you hate the most out of all of these? I personally hate probably pickles the most, and then probably tomatoes right after that because I'm allergic to them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate this artboard one more time, and this will be the first drag state. Who puts cucumbers on a burger? I'm not sure. I've never done it, but apparently based on this Illustrator document, some people do. So, you know, there it is. So I'm going to, you know what? because you mentioned that, Jonathan, I'm going to start with cucumbers. So I'm going to select the cucumbers layer and also the cucumbers text layer and simply drag these over to the right, just over here. And I'm going to decrease the opacity to 0. Now you're noticing they did not go onto the pasteboard, and it's because that they are grouped within a group that contains other elements that are on the artboard. Otherwise, if they were not in a group and I move them over outside of the artboard bounds, they would go onto the pasteboard, which we don't want. But because they're in a group, everything is great. So I'm going to decrease the opacity to 0, and there we go. So that's number 1. And what we might want to do is also kind of move things down. So as we've done that, we might want, let's say, pickles to kind of come down. Whoops. Pickles to come down and ketchup to come down. There we go. We'll move our pickles down. We'll move our ketchup down. I can grab all of these at once and just drag them down. There we go. So now we're kind of really starting to customize this burger to our liking. And we'll do one more. And let's say, I'll go for tomatoes. Because who likes tomatoes? I don't know. Someone probably likes tomatoes, but I don't. So I'm going to drag those over, turn down the opacity just like I did before. And then just like before, grab all this lovely element and just, there we go. Perfect. All right, so we now have our customized burger, but let's go ahead before we wrap this up and see what it looks like. Let's wire this up and see it in action. So I'm gonna start on the first artboard. I'm gonna hop into prototype mode right at the top, right here. There we go. And I essentially now want to select the button or the element that a user is going to interact with. And in this case, it's the customize button. So once I have that selected, there's a blue handle over to the right. I can drag that handle to the second artboard. And now within the properties inspector, we have some options. So in this case, I do want a tap trigger. We will get into drag in a moment. I'm gonna select tap. And I don't want to transition because that will either cut or dissolve or just slide left or right or up or down. We want auto animate. And when you select auto animate, you're basically telling XD to look at the differences between the two wired up artboards, and it's going to animate those changes. And I might want, let's actually go for a snap today. Usually I do in and out, but we're gonna go for a snap and we'll have a quick duration of 0.4 seconds. And let's see this in action. So I'm gonna select the first artboard, press play. Here we go. And I'm gonna press the customize button. And the burger is simply going to explode, revealing all those ingredients. Let's do that one more time. Bam. Super cool. Also those text layers, they just came in really nicely. And of course, if I had those text layers on the first artboard, you can also move them. And so what you can do, let me show you how that might work. So I can go into here, I can select all these text layers, which were not on the first artboard. I'm gonna copy them. I'm gonna make sure to paste them on this artboard. Maybe I'll move them off to the side and I'll turn down the opacity. So now when I customize, those kind of come in from the left, they move to the right, and they kind of meet up with their ingredients over in the burger. So now that that's done, we've exploded this burger. We want a user to be able to drag specific elements and ingredients off because they don't want those, right? So in this case, we want to start with pickles. Was it pickles? I think it was pickles, right? No, it was cucumbers. We don't want cucumbers. So I'm going to select the cucumbers layer right here. There we go. And drag this over to the third artboard. Now, this time, instead of a tap trigger, we actually want to go with a drag trigger. And this will allow us to drag this element to the next state. And again, because auto animate is being used, XD is going to recognize that the cucumbers have been moved off of the artboard over here to the right. So that will be the ending state for this drag trigger. And also, it takes other elements with it. So if the text layer, even though we're not dragging the text layer, if that moved in the second state, that's also going to go with it. So let's do this. And let's also go for the, what was it, the next one, the tomatoes. Let's also do the tomatoes, drag that over, and it's also going to maintain those properties from the last interaction. So let's see this one more time. We're gonna click on the first artboard. We're going to press play. We're gonna press customize. And then we're going to just simply drag cucumbers off. And we're gonna drag tomatoes off. And there we go. We now have our finalized, customized burger. Now, Yiddy's asking, how is the user supposed to know what to do? And that's really completely up to the user experience of this application, whether there's a tutorial or there's some sort of indication that you're supposed to drag. This is, these little quick challenges are supposed to meant to, give you some inspiration on what you can do, and then it's completely up to you to expand on it and make sure it makes sense. Because in about half an hour and 20 minutes, it's a little bit difficult to really get into the details of the user experience of something like this. So that's definitely up to you to expand on as you're building out the entire app. So now that we have that done, we might want, actually in this case, because customize is already in progress, we might just want to change this to done. Let me go ahead and make sure that's centered. I'm going to just press done. Do this as well. And this is probably a good opportunity to start using components for a button like this, but I did not do that, so shame on me. But I'm going to make sure to center this and done. All right, so now at this point, we want to basically put this burger back together. So one more time, I'm going to duplicate this artboard over to the right, and I'm going to, you can change this to checkout. There we go. These elements, we might just want to maybe move these back off to the side, turn down the opacity to 0. And now we can start grabbing the ingredients and just putting them back together, just like we did initially, just like this. We've got our cheese, we've got our lettuce, we've got our pickles, our ketchup, and we've got our finalized bun. And I can select all these elements just like this, make sure they're centered. Perfect, maybe move this up just a little bit. And there we go. There is our finalized burger. And finally, we want to go back into prototype mode. And of course, you could have done all your designing at the very beginning and then wired things up afterwards. But some people like to go back and forth to test things to make sure things are looking really good. So we're going to select our done button, drag this over to the finalized checkout screen. There we go. In this case, we do not want a drag trigger. We want a tap trigger. We'll go for a snap again and duration of 0.4 seconds. There we go. So back to the beginning, let's go ahead and play this. So we've got our customize button. We can press it, boop, there we go. It expands to show all of our ingredients. We don't want cucumbers, we can drag that off. We don't want tomatoes, we can drag that off, and the burger is collapsing as we're doing this. Then we can press done to kind of collapse things back into place. The button changes the text. Price is a pretty good idea, Selton. I think I've always pronounced your name wrong, I think. I apologize. And there we go. Back to the beginning. Let's do that one more time. Customize, boom. Cucumbers, tomatoes, done. There we go. So that's just about it. I've given you a little bit of inspiration on what you can do for a project like this. I'm really excited to see what you all come up with, whether it's burgers or tacos and pizza, whatever it might be. Definitely think about the user experience for this, because kind of like what Yidi was saying, user might not know exactly what they're supposed to do when this expands. They might also want to be able to add ingredients. So if you wanted to maybe add additional meat, for example, there might be a little button right here beside meat let's go ahead and do that. So in here, you might want, let's say a little bit of an ellipse, right? Let's line that up. We will change the fill color to a little bit darker, just like that. And maybe there might be, a text layer that just says 2x. And that will allow you to add an additional patty, right? Maybe we'll just drop this to medium, make sure we can read this. Perfect, just like that. And that button might, slide in additional patty from the right. There's a lot you can do with this. You can also add in prices. You can add in a whole lot of different things. But I really encourage you to have fun with this. And once you're finished, if you set your home screen right here at the top, there's a little home button. Press that. Boop, there we go. You can go up to the share menu at the top, and then you can share for review. And what this will allow you to do, this will allow you to share it. You can share it with your friends. You can share it with your coworkers, whatever it might be. Let's call this burgers, I can't spell. You can turn off on or off comments, hotspot hints. So if a user doesn't know what to do, they can see their hotspot hints, and you can create the link. And essentially what it's doing now, it's taking all these assets, they're uploading it to the cloud, and you'll be able to preview this directly on the web or even on your mobile device, exactly how it was on the desktop. And I'm going to show you that in just a second if this hurries up. Go, go, go. There we go. There's a link right here. I can open the link in my browser, and we have our finalized prototype loading in right now. And just like it could on the browser, I can press customize. It's going to expand. I can drag away my cucumbers, drag away my tomatoes. My internet's going very slowly right now, but it should work really nicely. So that will just about do it for day number 6. Definitely submit your stuff to Discord, post on Behance with the keyword XD Daily Creative Challenge. I'll be back tomorrow morning with day number 7 of the challenge. And who knows what we're going to be designing tomorrow. So thanks again, everyone, for tuning in. We've got Noor and Anna and Tim and Mafalda and Marissa and everyone else joining me. Thanks a lot, and I'll see you next time.